To people who are unaware of trafficking, first off, I want to say that I used to be just like you. I didn't even know what trafficking was when it was happening to me. I just looked like a normal college kid. There's nobody who would have looked at me and thought, oh, she's a prostitute. It was right after my 18th birthday, when the second semester started, that I was told by financial aid that my scholarships had run out. My mother and father made too much money in their jobs in order for me to get financial aid. However, given the very strained relationship that we had, they were completely unwilling to help me with college. So really the only two options I could see were to drop out until I was 24 and independent, or get married, which would also qualify me as independent. I met a man through a friend and I told him about my situation. And eventually I explained what had happened with the financial aid office. Because frankly, I didn't have anyone else to turn to. And he just offered out of the blue to get married to me. He said that it would just be a piece of paper. It was just so I could keep going to school. And, we wouldn't even live together. It would just be a marriage on paper. I didn't see any other way out. And so I agreed and I said yes. And we were married. It was that night that he first became violent towards me. And then he gave me to his roommate as sort of a wedding present, which was very, very hurtful and not what I had expected, and not what I had heard that marriage should be. We would later find out that he had registered me on various websites for pornography, prostitution, and phone sex. He began to blackmail me with telling my parents what I had done and showing my parents the photos that he had taken of me and the videos, and then the ads for prostitution that had my photos all over them. More than anything, I didn't want my parents to know. I knew that my dad already thought I was worthless and a whore, and that this would only confirm the things that he had always said about me. During a week, I probably saw somewhere between 24 to maybe 30 guys. So there were thousands of men that I was trafficked to in the Austin area. One thing that I hoped so strongly was that when I opened the door for my next client, that it would actually be a policeman undercover. I hoped that there would be someone who would know about what was happening, who could stop it. All I wanted was for it to stop, and for me to have a chance, just a chance, at having a life where I was in control. About 2 years after the trafficking began with my husband, another girl moved in with us. She was also being trafficked by him. And finally, one day she got in touch with an anti-human trafficking organization called Redeemed Ministries. She was able to meet with Callie and tell her what was going on in her life, and then said, but you have to meet my roommate. It took probably a month, maybe a little bit longer, for us to be able to find a time when my trafficker was going to be gone where I could actually meet Callie. And I did. I broke down in a coffee shop with her and another volunteer and told them everything from the beginning of my life up until where it was then. That was the day that I actually learned that what was happening to me was called human trafficking, and that there were people out there who wanted to stop it. There were people who were trying to do everything they could to make sure that this didn't happen to anyone else. And that was a really surprising day for me. Just meeting such amazing people and then realizing that there is a way out of this, that was just something completely unexpected. One of my favorite memories ever is of being in the police station after having been rescued and seeing the door down the hallway open and seeing Callie come right through the door. And it was like one of those slow motion movie scenes with both of us running towards each other and then giving each other the biggest hug that you can ever imagine. And that moment is the moment that I knew I was safe. I didn't even know what trafficking was when it was happening to me. So how could I blame you for not knowing what it is when you're not a part of that life and when that's not something that you see every day? What I do want to say though is that now that you know something about it, there are steps that you can take to help stop it. What gives me hope for the world is knowing that even though this is the way things are right now, with an estimated 35 million in trafficking throughout the world, that one day we can stop it. And it may not even be in 10 years or in 20 years or even in my lifetime, but one day there will be a day where there are no more slaves.